Good morning, everybody. This is Greg Trainer with Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services with the October market update. And this week, we're going to have an additional add-on to this with some news about forbearances. And if you know anybody or are currently in forbearance, what your options are and some numbers regarding that. I am joined today with our co-hosts, Tom McNamara with Caliber Home Loans, and Sarah Setters, our Northern Kentucky real estate expert. Hello, everybody, and good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Hi, good morning.
All right, you guys ready to dive into this?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the actual market updates. And looking at the new monthly listing counts year over year, from comparing those 2017 all the way through 2020, you can see we talked about this on our prior updates that are trending right now is, of course, the monthly listings continue to fall. But last year we did see that V-shaped recovery, which really pushed everything out on the listings. Our spring occurred in September, October, November of last year. So everything was pushed out just a little bit. Now, if we overlay 2020, we're going to find something a little bit interesting here. And we showed everybody on previous, we had that V-shaped recovery in 2020, where everything started getting pushed out a little bit. But as you can see in the 2021 numbers, if we overlay those right now onto those prior years, what you're going to see is we're actually trending out. We were wondering when this was going to begin to cross over. And for the first time, we just got our numbers, and for September of 2021, we crossed over the 2020 numbers and actually have gone below those on new listings that are coming onto the market, which is very interesting. And we'll take a look at some more charts to see how that trending is affecting pricing, et cetera. So those are national charts, and we all know, just like politics, economics is local. And we have Sarah on the call and as our co-host for Northern Kentucky. And I'm going to give some numbers in Greater Cincinnati, which are not surprisingly mirroring some of those numbers nationally. We have here, we're showing the numbers that have been sold. Same thing, 2017 through 2021, and showing the trending on those graphs. We're still in 2021 here below what 2020 numbers were on the sold units of single family and condominiums. Why? Because our inventory is low. We would sell a lot more homes right now. I just want to make sure everybody knows this isn't a typical slowdown year over year. This is an inventory issue. And you can see the correlation with that is our prices, our average sales prices, are still above year over year, 2017, 18, 19, and 20. We have started to see a little bit of a trend where that average sales price and the median sales price is starting to slip a little bit. That is not surprising when we take a look at some of the other numbers on the pendings, and also the fact that somewhat seasonal. When you have the middle of the year is usually your peak markets. So those numbers slipping just a little bit shouldn't be alarming to anybody right now. As you can see, the new pendings continue to mirror, and I apologize for jumping back and forth. The screen's a little bit sensitive today. Pop back up here. New pendings, again, are still below what 2021 or 2020 numbers were. And I'm going to pop to the next screen over here. We can see average days on market as we see some of those prices and whatnot slip a little bit, actually going up just a little bit. We're still in crisis mode as far as inventory goes, so not a concern. We're not seeing a steep spike in days on market, just a few. And if you notice here, 5 to 15 days, somewhere between 5 and 10 days actually on market is average right now. When in a normal market, we see 2017, we had upward of 55 days on market, all the way to 35 days on market. You'd list your house and within 35 days have that property pending. So that is still an indicator that even though it's trending up just a little bit and we see that nice smooth trend, that's not a bad thing. Because when you look at what a healthy market, a balanced market is, that means that we have about 5.5 to 6 months of inventory on the market at any one time. And as you can see this, it's been sliding forever. It's definitely still a seller's market, even though we're trending up just a little bit. We're not even close to being a healthy market where there's enough homes on the market for buyers that are currently out there looking. So we see again a little bit of trending with the sales to list prices. And this is where I think sellers are starting to realize that they've got to be a little bit more reasonable. We've had a lot of folks that have been really trying to get a grand slam or shooting for the fence or trying to hit over the fence. We had our peak at a little over 100%, 101.5% back in June of 2021. So you list, let's say a home list for 100, the average sales price on it would have been 101.5. So people were getting more than what they were listing. It was very competitive. I think what happened, and the way I'm interpreting things, is we're starting to see that slip below that 100% mark for the first time since back in March of this year and prior to last year, because I think the sellers are becoming a little bit more reasonable, and the offers, we don't have as many on each one of the houses, and the buyers just aren't willing to continue to compete. So those numbers are coming down a little bit. Traditionally, you can see a healthy market. Again, these are averages somewhere between 97 and 100% of list to sales price. So we're still above average, but we're just trending back down to get to normal. We're going to switch over to the Northern Kentucky numbers now and let Sarah take over and give us an update of what's happening in Northern Kentucky.
So in Northern Kentucky, we're really similar to what's going on in Ohio with you. Pretty much just the number of listings they're trending up, pendings and solds, they're going down. Still definitely a seller's market. September, the solds were down actually almost 6%. It was 5.8% versus September versus August. I'm sorry. So they were down quite a bit. So still trending very similar to how you are over in Ohio.
Are your buyers seeing about the same or less competition when they're making offers on homes right now?
I would say a little less competition.
Okay.
Things are sitting on the market for a little bit longer. And I have seen, with it sitting on the market, there's a little bit of competition, but because it is on the market a little bit longer, it's giving you more time to get in, and it's giving you a second to actually think about it and not, that knee-jerk reaction, I've got to put an offer on this right this second.
Gotcha. And we've had this conversation for everybody who may look at this, and we look at these numbers and they're overwhelming with the stats, but it really boils down to our market's starting to calm down and normalize a little bit. And what you're going to hear from the news and the news sources is, oh my gosh, it's slowing down, real estate's crashing. Well, it's not going to. I just want to make sure that all of our viewers out there know that what we have been doing for the last 2 years is driving our car at 150 miles an hour. And now that we've slowed down to 80, it feels like we're slow, but we're not. We're still in a heated market. Mm-hmm. We're going above the speed limit. So no worries if you're a buyer. It's getting better for you. It's getting more normal. There's no time like the present to start looking for the homes. They're starting to creep on the market a little bit more. If you're a seller, no time to panic. You're not going to see those 14 to 18% year over year increases in your equity. You're going to see that normalize down to a more healthy market. So we're actually excited about this in the real estate industry. We're not currently or previously at a pace that we could sustain, nor did buyers have the stomach for it. And a lot of times sellers didn't either. So now that we know those stats on the real estate, one of the most important things that we can talk about, because it has a direct price or direct correlation to how homes appreciate, and that's the interest rates. And Tom, you are our real estate, you're a mortgage guy and interest rate update expert. So tell us what you see happening today. And
rates they're going to go up and they're going to go down. And I always say rates will be what they are when you're ready to do what you have to do. So if rates are in the twos and you're not even ready to sell your home and the rates go to threes, you're probably going to get your rate in the threes. It's really that simple. And a rate is an instrument. And right now the instrument is in the low threes. If you have normal credit, decent credit, 660 and above, conventional financing, your rate's probably going to be 3.25 to 3.5, somewhere in there. If you have stellar credit above 780 credit score, your ratios are in line, you can get as low as 3.1. But to get a 2% rate these days, you're going to pay discount points for it. It's going to cost you money. So beware if you hear these rates on the radio, listen to the small print. There's one on the radio that just comes out golden oak or something. If you listen to the small print, a 1.8% rate, that's an FHA 15-year cash out. Now, who does that? Nobody does that. So it's really deceptive when they hear that buzzword, if you will. But rates are in the low threes. They're holding steady. They're going to trickle up. I don't think we're going to see twos, me personally, for a long time. But I think they're going to stay in the low threes. They may be in the mid to high threes by the end of the year, 2022, I'm saying. But they're still good. They're good.
Gotcha. And I find it interesting, and we all know that correlation isn't causation, but you saw the same trends for the first time since March. Rates have gone above 3, and we saw on our prior charts that our industry, our numbers started making that little bit of a turn. We're getting back to numbers that are at the March levels. So interesting correlation there. But mortgage rates do have a great impact on the competitiveness and pricing of homes. Let's take a look, Tom, if you want to kind of explain what the big talking heads are saying for the next year, next quarter and next year.
We're in Q4 right now. They're saying the average for Jenny Fannie and the mortgage brokers in the National Association of Realtors is 3.18, which if it's national, that could involve a discount point. It's normal for some states to charge a discount point, and that buys the rate down. Going into the first of next year, Q1 for 2022, trickling up to 3.33, and then again Q2 and Q3 of 2022, they're trickling up, but still 3.55 versus 3.18. You're going up 3/8 of a percentage point in rate, which could mean $40 or $50, maybe $60 on your payment, depending on where you are. But if that $350,000 house, now the sellers get a little bit smarter about it and it drops down to 320 or 290 or wherever the price corrects itself, the payment and the end result is the same.
Yep. Yeah, those are minute. And when you look at it historically, when I first got into the business, and I'm actually second generation, so I remember before that, rates in the high teens. When I actually made my entry into the business and rates were still 11, 12%. These are historically, every once in a while we'll have a client say, oh my gosh, that rate's terrible, it's just jumped up. And 3.5, 3.18, even if it does hit those numbers by the end of the year, those are fantastic rates, which make homes more affordable for everybody. It's a win for buyers and it's a win for sellers, because low interest rates has an effect on the health of the real estate industry and the prices of homes. One of the things that I will point out is that we have this last quarter of 2021 will be a great tell So we're all interested in seeing how this last quarter of this year plays out to really give us a great indicator of how 2022 will be. And we've got a positive mindset for where the industry's heading next year. So like I'd mentioned, we're gonna kind of split this topic. They're related, but I wanted to talk about something that just finalized itself at the end of September, which is the forbearances. And if you're not familiar with forbearance, then you're probably not in the middle of it. If you know what a forbearance is, other than just hearing it on the news, we're going to explain that a little bit. When the COVID crisis hit, forbearance was one of the programs that the government mandated from most of the lenders, saying that we have to give a little bit of relief to the homeowners so we don't have a deluge of foreclosures. And those forbearances involved forgiving most of, and by forgiving, I don't mean just wiping it clear, but forgiving some of the egregious things that come along with not making your payments, like hitting your credit scores or hitting your credit report. Allowing you not to make payments and form agreements later on down the line of how you're gonna to keep that home and not have it slip into foreclosure. So we're going to talk about some of those options today. And we can see ever since this program started winding down in July, we've seen a decrease in the amount of people that are in the program. And this is a projection of those people that are going to continue to exit the mortgage forbearance program. This last month, which we don't have the September numbers, we expect to be over 400,000 people exiting. And that's a big number of folks. When you look at the total number, I believe is about 1.3 million people that are currently taking advantage of the forbearance program. We can see that start to wind down in October, November, and December, and then kind of gradually rising and falling throughout next year. So you can see that program is going to need to be addressed if you're on that currently taking advantage of the forbearance. So we want to talk about what's going to happen next since it's lifted. And the big thing is we're not going to see foreclosures. You're going to see YouTube and a lot of other places that people try to panic everybody about. It's just going to blow the market up. We've got 1.6 million homes that are going to hit the market, flood it, devalue everything that's out there. It's just simply not going to happen. And there's a few reasons why. We can see again, visiting those numbers is immediately from July to August, it fell 3.26%. Initially, there was 1.6 million people in that program, and it's fallen to 1.3. First, the CFPB issued new rules to help struggling owners avoid those foreclosures. And Tom is going to talk about this, but there's a lot of different repayment options when it comes to exiting the forbearance plan. And Tom, you can talk a little bit about that and let everybody know how you can help. So
every lender kind of is handling their own way of doing this. So basically a forbearance, if you wanted to get into the plan when it came available, you basically don't make your payments for 6 months or 9 months, whatever plan you choose. And those payments just stack up and go on the side, basically. But the problem with that is when you don't make a payment and you have an escrow account, those taxes are due and that insurance is due also. So you're short on that loan, basically. So what we're allowing people to do is re-enter into a workabout program or a workaround program where they cater it to their needs. And they also, when I say they, Caliber and New Res will structure the program to where it's not a refinance, it's like just refix the loan, putting the amount back in, but you have to make 3 payments. They'll give you like 3 payments after forbearance before they can do the workabout. And basically it takes it and puts it on the end of the loan and it spreads it out to where your payment won't go up, but they'll extend the loan and then make sure the escrows get paid and everything. So that's an option. If you have a lender and you're in forbearance, go to your current lender and see if they have a plan or they have an option for you to make it simplified to where you can get that money paid. You know, it never made sense to me in the forbearance. If you can go 6 months without making a payment, they expect you to save that payment at the end of 6 months, pay it all back at once. If you don't have the money, how can you save it, right?
Right.
And it just never made any sense to me. How are these going to be paid back? And the other way is refinance. The beauty of the house is going up so much in value. I had people that were in FHA forbearances that put 3.5% down a year and two months ago, and now their house is worth so much more. They're conventional at 20% down and paying that second mortgage, that silent second, meaning that forbearance piece, those payments that they missed. We're absorbing that into the loan, and they're better off with a lower rate than they were with the FHA. So it's a positive.
Right. And one of the things that I just want to point out, and I'm going to put a link in the video below. I've got a great article from Forbes, and you really need to know what type of loan that you have.
Yes.
There are different options when you're exiting based on whether it's a Fannie or Freddie loan, whether it's an FHA loan, a VA loan, or a USDA loan. Anywhere it goes from repayment plans, payment deferrals until you get ready to pay it off, to fully modifying your current loan, all the way to FHA has their complete different rules. Same thing with USDA, but make sure you know what type of loan that you have, because when you're talking to your own lender, you have to understand how they're going to work you through that program themselves. If that's not an option, like Tom said, you need to have a conversation. The first words out of Tom's mouth is, what type of loan do you currently have? And the great part is, Tom just mentioned, there's a lot of folks that got FHA loans a few years ago that didn't have a big down payment, that can exit that program and get into a conventional loan. Now they have more than 20% equity in it. So they're not only saving an interest rate that may be a little bit lower, but can't they also drop that monthly mortgage insurance premium?
Yes, the mortgage, it goes away, but what's critical on FHA, you have to be seasoned 12 months. So
Right.
you have to be in that loan or that house to go off the appraised value, 12 months on FHA and 6 months on conventional.
Gotcha. And if somebody decides not to take one of the options with their current lender and they go with you, Tom, to refinance their home, did you mention about how many payments that they have to make first before they can qualify?
Yes, they have to make 3 payments back either to their lender, to get back in good graces, to get back into a cycle. They have to make at least 3 payments, and then I can take them on and do a refinance for them.
Gotcha. And are you running into any issues where this is showing up as rolling lates on their credit report? Because I've had a lot of clients that I've talked to that say, oh my gosh, my credit's got to be just wrecked right now because I've been on forbearance.
Not one. I mean, it'll say disaster, or it'll say no 30s, no 60s, no 90s. The only issue, sometimes I ran into it like 3 times. They don't mention they're in forbearance and it doesn't show up. And then when I get title, there's a second on it that the current lender placed because of the forbearance money. They literally place a second on it real quick. And that's how I found out they were in forbearance.
And if you refinance it, you just pay that off and roll
You
it
just pay it
into
off,
the
and
new
it's not
loan.
considered cash out either because it was part of the original loan.
Gotcha. So I'm actually seeing more people, because the rates being lower than they were a few years ago, taking that option, because if you had a low down payment, it's almost a no-brainer.
It's a win-win. It really is.
Because you're going to be saving you. And two, I just want to stress, the reason why I asked Tom that is part of the forbearance program was these deferred payments are not supposed to wreck your credit, quote unquote. It's not supposed to show up on your credit report. This was something that was an exception, odd times, and isn't to be held against folks if you actually entered into the program and made sure to let your lender know. I guess there's a difference, Tom. There could have been some people that just said, well, I'm not making my mortgage payment.
Yes,
and
you must have paperwork.
Yeah, you have to have the paperwork. If you just forgot to do that with your current lender, then it's probably not going to work out that well. But the last reason why this is not resulting in a deluge of foreclosures is because of that home equity that the people have in the property. Nobody's going to walk away from your home when you have a ton of equity in that property. So it is estimated, and I have an article again from Forbes showing that 25% of the people that had entered into the forbearance program are or will be listing their properties for sale. So we're going to see about 271,000 homes in the next couple years come back on the market, which should help inventory and those buyers out there tremendously, unless those folks are going to be buying a new house. So if you're buying a house and selling a house, it's sort of a wash on where we're going to go. They may be downsizing, they may be moving out, but 25% is the estimate of what's going to come on the market. And this is why they're thinking about, those 25 are thinking about selling them. And it frankly helps out the refinances or the modifications on these programs. US equity in folks' homes are at a record high, $9.8 trillion in home equity. And you can see over the years how that's gone up and down. But right now we have never had more tappable equity. And I want to make sure we understand the difference between just equity. There's actually more equity in homes than 9.8 trillion. This is in addition, this excludes the 20% that's on the property. So in addition to the 20%, there is another $9.8 trillion in equity that folks can tap. So you're either going to refinance that home or you're going to sell that home before you allow it to go into foreclosure, because you're not going to walk away from that much money that's in your house.
Mhm.
And if you look at what CoreLogic and Equity Insights reports show, that the average gain in equity on mortgaged homes right now in the last 2 years is $51,500. That's life-changing money. People don't walk away from that type of money.
Right.
So if you're in forbearance and you know that you have $50,000 that you can walk away with in that property, you're going to list it for sale, or you're going to refinance it and take advantage of lower rates and a lower payment. Believe it or not, about 37% of all homes are free and clear in the United States right now. And we've seen a 29.3% increase in equity of properties, which totals over $2.9 trillion to the US housing market. So all compelling reasons why you need to have a plan. Just don't walk away from those homes. And now it's time to decide, because it really, the program wound down in its completion, Tom, in September 30th.
Yes.
Started in July and then ended September 30th.
Right.
So you've got to figure out what your steps are. What's your plan if you're
Right.
going to exit that forbearance program? Again, I think one of the first things you should do, even before speaking with your own lender or a different lender about refinancing, is getting your property's equity assessed. And we'll talk about that just in the next slide, but we have, as a service, as a real estate brokerage and real estate agents at Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services, what we call our PAIR report, which is our property equity assessment report for you. You need to know over the last few years what effect the housing market has had on the equity in your property and the value of your property. So we can help you with that. And you need to have that in mind before you speak to anybody. The next thing, like we talked about before, is know what type of loan that you have currently, because you're going to have to talk to your lender or somebody like Tom to make sure that you're moving about in the correct direction. Speak to, my personal opinion is to speak with a competing lender about refinance options. Again, a lot of the folks that were in the forbearance didn't just buy their homes in the last year or so when the rates fell to 2.5%, or I forget what our low was, maybe 2.2 or 2.3. They bought their houses when it was 4% and 5% and just entered into the forbearance program. So as Tom mentioned earlier, if you have rates in the low 3s and you can take those payments, your interest rate down, plus drop mortgage insurance or mortgage insurance premiums, then that's a win. And finally, making sure that you speak with your real estate agent or realtor if you're considering the sale in your home. So that's where Sarah and I would come in to help you again. Let's look at your equity that you have in your home. Your equity is different than the value, because we look at and consult with you on the total debts that's on your real estate minus what the estimated current home value is, and we can help you get that together, put a good plan together, and get you in the position where you're ready to close that chapter in life and move forward in a positive direction. So one thing that I just want to point out is that we are always available, no matter whether it's you, a friend, or a family member. There is absolutely no hook to this. We do this as a service for our past clients or current clients, or anybody who wants to take a look at this to help them. That's what we're in this industry to do. So I know, Tom, you have been a great resource to a lot of folks that you may not ever do the refinances with. You're just helping point them in the right direction. It's all of our jobs to make sure that we give people the best advice and make sure that they can make a decision that's best for them. So if somebody wants to do that, Tom, how do they get a hold of you to start that process?
Best way is just call me on my cell. I'll pick up every call that comes through. It's 859-468-LOAN, 859-468-LOAN, or www.tmaclens.com.
Great. And if you're a home owner in Northern Kentucky, have a friend or family member, or maybe it's just you yourself who need to get a hold of a professional real estate agent to get this pair report done to help guide you. Sarah, how does somebody get a hold of you?
They can call or text me. My phone number is 859-547-8735, or they can shoot me a quick email. My email is setters, SETTERS, @Wyndham-Lyons.com.
Great. And if you are north of the river and looking in the greater Cincinnati, or living in the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, feel free to get a hold of me. Again, my name is Greg Trainer. I am the broker owner with Wyndham-Lyons Realty Services. I have my own team, as well as many agents in our great brokerage that can help you out. The best way to get a hold of us is to give us a call at the office at 513-322-2905, and we can place you with a very competent and helpful real estate agent. You can also visit us directly on the showcaseteam.com or the company's website, wyndhamlyons.com, register and get through to us through that way, getting a request for a home assessment. Tom and Sarah, I really appreciate you guys joining us and helping our clients out this week, not only understand the market in greater Cincinnati as we stand right now, but also helping our friends, family, and clients with forbearance. Look forward to talking with you guys again next week.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great weekend, and go sell some homes and do some mortgages.
All right, we will.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.